Well, I appreciate that kind introduction, and I'm revved up and ready to go already. So I start with nothing great has ever been accomplished without enthusiasm. Who said that? Ralph Waldo Emerson. So think about that throughout my conversation with you today, and I think I have about 2 hours to talk to you, so get comfortable. My wife said I never met a microphone I didn't like, and so therefore get comfortable, and we'll begin this process. President White, I want to continue with your words. Thank you again. It's an honor to be working side by side with you as a partner. Governor Caperton, it is always an honor to speak with you and having some side conversation as well. State Board Member Bev Kingery is here with us as well. And give her a round of applause if you would. Appreciate her support. A couple superintendents we have back there from Cabell County. Good to see you, sir. And Delegate Moffitt. Let's give him a round of applause, too. Great to see you here, too, as an elected official. So I say nothing great has ever been accomplished without enthusiasm, and I want you to acknowledge that as we are talking about connecting education, jobs, in our future. Ladies and gentlemen, it is such an exciting time in West Virginia. It is such an exciting time for our children in West Virginia. I walk out of my house every day, and I don't even think my feet touch the ground because I can't wait to get out to see what's going to be out there in terms of the ways that we can make a difference in the lives of our children. There are so many wonderful things occurring, and I want to make some connected pieces for you, recognizing I do have a short period of time with you. I want to try to frame this in a way where we can all relate to it. But at the center of this conversation, I want you to keep our children in the thought process. See, as adults in education, we have the tendency to stay way up here. We have our own language we talk about education about. It's called educationese. And if you're not a part of the club, you don't understand what that means. And at the center of it, we have 280,000 young people in our state who are counting on us every day to do the right thing. So I operate with a high level of energy and a fierce sense of urgency because we can't let another day go by where we as adults are figuring it out, because if we continue to spin and we don't have it figured out for kids, kids aren't going to benefit from that. So the urgency of now is critical. So keep the children at the center of what we're doing in this conversation. As I tell you a story that I want to let you know about a personal story. And as a 55-year-old man, it's been recently that I've been able to articulate this story because I was embarrassed by this story. But it's a true story, and I want to share it briefly with you today. I grew up in the mountains of Western Maryland, the grandson of a coal miner, an Italian coal miner who worked tirelessly for his family of 11 children. I am his namesake and have the fortunate opportunity to be one of the first in my family to go on to college. I knew I wanted to go to college. But in the 70s, late 70s, as I was coming out of high school, there wasn't a lot of conversation about this. The conversation was, I knew I wanted to go to college, and I made the decision to go to the University of Maryland, sight unseen, never putting my foot on that campus, but based upon the quality of the basketball team. As an avid sports fan, I made a decision about college to go based upon my love for the basketball team. I quickly went to the university, was dropped off with my duffel bag, went to my dorm, never been on the campus before, and came from a small town that, wow, now I'm in the big city. But I went into my dorm, an all-male dorm, and I started having conversation with the other boys who were freshmen as well. And they started having conversation about what they wanted to do, what they were studying, and I always wanted to be a teacher. I had a great love for science, a great love for math, and I wanted to be a science and math teacher. That wasn't my fallback position. I wanted to be a teacher. Now, a male in the late 70s being a teacher was kind of viewed as, what's wrong with you? Seriously, think about what was occurring then, our attitude towards teaching. So as I'm interacting with individuals in my dorm, pre-this, pre-that, pre-law, pre-med, and I kept encountering individuals who wanted to be engineers. And it caused me great confusion, and this is where the embarrassment comes in, and I've been recently able to tell you this story because this is where the embarrassment comes in. I didn't understand why so many people wanted to be engineers. Because my frame of reference growing up in the mountains of Western Maryland was I had a lot of friends whose dads worked on the trains. So I appreciate the chuckle. So I didn't understand why all my new classmates in my dorm wanted to go to school to drive trains. And I tell you that with a level of humility and embarrassment to say, I never want any of our young people to be denied the possibility and the opportunities that exist to them based upon the fact of their zip code or where they live or their experiences. I have carried that experience with me throughout my adult career, and it's been recently that I've been able to tell that story to make a difference to ensure that that never happens to any of our children. But to say now we talk about the importance of college and career readiness. So as our president of Marshall just talked about, the importance of what's occurring in higher ed, now more than ever, the work that's occurring from birth to 12th grade is now more important than ever. No longer can you just finish high school or drop out of high school and get a job. See, when I went to college, people said, why are you going away to college? You can get a job here in the industries. You can go to the 2-year college. You can go to Frostburg State. You can do this. Why are you going away? Why are you doing this? Now, ladies and gentlemen, the world has shifted. And we know that if a young person doesn't have a high school diploma minimally, they're going to have challenges in terms of competing and having a productive life, in terms of making contributions to our state. So I'm driven as the day is long to change our focus in our state around the graduation rate. We can talk about all kinds of metrics to define our quality, but that single number of our 4-year graduation rate is something we haven't talked a lot about in our state, that I'm now going to begin that conversation throughout the last year about the importance of more children graduating. The more children that graduate, the better off we're going to be, because children will be ready for careers in college and they can make contributions to our society. If I tell you about the robust research on dropouts, what occurs to a child, I can tell you with a high level of predictability and authority what happens to a child when they drop out of school. I can predict what's going to happen. They're going to have a life that's going to be an issue in terms of no jobs that are going to be able to be productive, more engagement in the juvenile detention centers, more engagement in the detention center in general, and with a 60 to 90% rate, if a child drops out of school, they will find their way to the detention center. They will engage in more in terms of drug use, illicit behaviors, juvenile delinquency, and we know that. But yet as America, we spend on average $10,000 to educate a child, but we spend $35,000 to incarcerate an individual. Think about it. Think about what we do. So in West Virginia, we are trying to change the tide. We're going to focus on the metrics that matter to ensure young people graduate, college and career ready. So as our president of Marshall has talked about the importance of higher ed, I need to make certain that the students who graduate from high school have those skills necessary for college. Whether they choose to go or not, and that's another conversation we need to have, we want to ensure that they have the ability and the skills to enter college or a career. So college and career readiness is the defined knowledge and skills needed to be successful in college, as well as needing to be successful in careers. But wrapped around all of that, in terms of those dispositions of importance, are basic skills that all of you in your chosen worlds, I want you to think about how you can contribute to this goal of our state. And I talk about 7 essential skills that our young people need to have. And so I want to focus on those in detail if I could, or briefly if I could. These are skills that our young people, regardless of the curriculum, need to have to be successful in the 21st century. First and foremost, think about how the world has shifted. We talk about Thomas Friedman, the world is flat, how we have the whole issue of how things are changed for our young people. They are natives to the digital experience. We are immigrants, most of us in this room, to the digital experience. They are natives. They have grown up on that level of use of technology. So we need to serve them well with an eye to the future. And I always say, think about right now, our babies that will be entering kindergarten this year, 2015, add 13 on to that. That takes you to 2028, right? Is my math correct? Think about how the world will shift in the next 13 years, and yet we're expected to prepare our babies for a world of which we don't even know what it's going to look like. Think about that. So the skills that I talk about constantly across our state, and boy, this is a big state. I've been busy. I've been visiting close to 28 counties, and I'm on a mission to visit all 55. And everywhere I go, I talk about the importance of these skills to our students, talking to our students. Collaboration across networks. Students need the ability to collaborate. As you are talking together, gone are the single rows of students lined up. The ability to have them arranged in classrooms where they are collaborating with each other. Not with just each other, but with other schools, with other countries, setting up the network of technology to allow sharing of information, collaboration across networks. Taking the initiative and entrepreneurialism, taking the initiative to be a great learner and to make things happen, to think about the possibilities of starting up through entrepreneurialism and the possibilities that provides. Accessing and analyzing information. That's the one I'm most intrigued by. We are in an information revolution. There's so much information out there. Students need to understand how to access it first, and it's not always on a Wikipedia site. Accessing for relevancy and then analyzing it to be sure it's the correct information. It's the relevant information. It's the information they can use to advance a position. Amidst all of this at the higher level, curiosity and imagination. I'm constantly asking our educators, how are we continuing to stimulate curiosity and imagination, never stifling that, never stifling it and building upon it. Critical thinking in terms of posing problems to allow our young people to have the opportunities working in those groups that I talked about, collaboration, accessing and analyzing information, and being able to critical think to solve problems, as Daniel Pink says, that have not even been defined yet. But yet we are preparing students for those experiences. How do we do that? And that goes beyond the basic issues of what is covered in content and curriculum. Students being able to critically think and apply that knowledge. I love these terms, agility and adaptable. All day long, I feel like I'm agile and nimble and have to adapt every day based upon the fact of different variables that come into my life. You have to do that every day, but it's a skill. You can't just lock into a rigid position and say, I'm here and doing this. Being able to accept others' viewpoints and get to a level of consensus and being able to do that. Being agile and adaptable to an ever-changing landscape. Because we know for certain things are changing so fast. But I save the best for last. Save the best for last as we talk to people in industry and we make the connection, simple as it sounds, oral and written communication. If we take all of that information, technical information, and we boil and distill it all down, if young people can't communicate, they don't know how to address another individual, if they don't know how to persuade and communicate a position, all of that goes on the wayside. Because at the end of the day, we want individuals who can critically think and communicate and solve problems. Those are our 21st century learners. And there's evidence of that in our schools in terms of innovation. In this county, we have the expeditionary learning that's occurring, which is a fine example of imagination and innovation. Career readiness, we have a most robust simulated workplace environment that is preparing young people for the world of work, the actual experiences, so it translates to the alignment to higher ed and careers. And so my goal is simply put, I've introduced 10 priorities for our state, and I want 1.9 million citizens gathered around that vision plan. Very simply put, everybody in this room has a role. It's not always donating money, but using time and talent. It's a level of using your ability to persuade and advocate. It's ability to be able to reach your hand down and help the less fortunate young people in our communities in ways that have never, ever been done before. Because I'm about all kids, not just some, but all. And as I've gone across our great state, I've seen students who have such wonderful resources, but we also need to shine the light and provide the information to young people who don't have the resources, who are sitting in school buildings that I would not put my children in, that are not being exposed to the rich curriculum, that are not able to have the AP courses of the rigor, that have so many challenges, but yet their only salvation and hope is education. Don't turn your back on my babies who need the most support. As our state, what I'm most proud to be a resident of this state is we take care of each other. Now more than ever, we need to take care of our 280,000 young people who are counting on us to do the very best by them, to ensure a quality education that is aligned to advance them through so that they see themselves in the future graduating college and career ready. That means partnerships with every parent to ensure their child is in school. That means working with our business leaders, our community leaders, our churches, our faith-based groups, our industry, to ensure that when we're not in school, God only knows that children only spend 9% of their time in school. From pre-K through 12, 91% is spent outside of the school. We've got to have the partnerships of support to ensure that our young people are fed. So all I'm asking is a simple message, that you join hands with all of us. Continue the work, because now the fierce urgency of now is more critical than ever. Because if we're talking about the economic development of our state, we need to start with education. Because the more educated our populace is, the best gift that we can give our young people is when they graduate from high school, college, and career ready, the better off our state will be. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an honor and a pleasure to speak in front of you. Thank you very much.